Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Ashley Barlow Company podcast. I'm Ashley Barlow, your host. If you are a parent, a teacher, or someone who works at a school, or you're a community member, a volunteer, or a staff member at an organization that supports people with special education plans, a coach, a tutor, or even a grandparent, you're in the right place. Sit back with an ice-cold glass of lemonade, put on your walking shoes and grab some headphones, roll down the windows and cruise. Ready, set, go. Educate, advocate, collaborate.
Hello, Bryan. How are you?
Hi, doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. And thanks so much for joining us. I'm
Yeah,
always excited this time of year to have conference speakers on the podcast. So it's great to have you here.
yeah,
Why don't we start off, Bryan, and just have you introduce yourself to my audience?
sure. Yeah, for sure. My name is Bryan Holyfield, and I am a dad of 4 boys, 12 and under. We've got a 1-year-old, so he was the surprise for sure. So all school age, and then a 1-year-old. So
Wow.
life is hectic around here. But I'm a former teacher, so I taught history, social studies, pretty much everything high school. A lot of AP coursework and all of that. Soccer coach, and about 6 years ago, I messed up my back in a pretty significant way while coaching. And I realized if I want to be the dad that I want to be, and I want to be as active as I want to be with my kids and sports, all of that stuff, I need to start get better care of myself. And so late 20s, started working out, training, and just realized I had a passion for it. And a few years ago, pandemic hit, saw a lot of teachers that were really struggling, a lot of educators that were not just educators, but across the gamut. And I realized I feel like I have, just because of my education background, but also my passion for fitness, I have a way of communicating some things that, because, I see it every day, but a lot of times the fitness world and health world gets really overly complicated very quickly
Yeah.
to a certain point where it's kind of the cost of entry is so high for a lot of people. They just turn off to it and go, that's too much to handle. And so I
Yeah.
feel like my role is, how can I communicate these concepts and these truths and these principles in a really simple way? And that started to take off for me as an online coach. And I built out my business and left the teaching profession. And now I do this full time. So yeah, so I spend most of my time dealing with folks that have chronic illnesses, helping them, folks with, kind of living with the impact of lifestyle choices, or just genetic issues, different things that, plague all of us and to a certain extent, and just generally helping regular folks get healthier, get the bodies that they want, get the mobility that they want, and more importantly, the mental focus and clarity and energy that they're looking for. So that's what I'm all about.
Is it entirely online? Do you train people in person?
I do. So I'm in North Georgia. So I do train a select few people here locally, but I try to keep that to a minimum just so I have more time, more headspace for creating content, resources, and having a larger impact. Because as an online coach, I can help a lot of people all at once
Yeah.
versus if I'm training you in the gym, I can really only help you during that whole hour. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
think it's good. I mean, because I do that work too. I like the balance because
Mhm.
it keeps my skills fresh to be with people in my case, in real cases, real
Sure.
legal cases, but then and, like, to know what the trends are and that kinda thing. Like,
Mhm.
I imagine in that field of work, you still need to actually see physical bodies from time to time and physical soul well, not physical, metaphysical souls
Mhm.
so that you can connect with people online. But certainly, that's a field that has developed quite a bit in the last few years and something that is so, so valuable. And my goodness, like there are so many good things that came out of COVID, and that
Mhm.
is one of them.
No, yeah. It's been game changer and just life changing for our family in terms of work life balance and being able to start something. I never thought I was going to start a business. I was always definitely more of the academic leaning. I have a master's degree in Russian history, and I was like, I'm going to be a professor,
Yeah.
and life just kind of completely turned things around. So the fact that, yeah, I can have that impact that I want to have on people. And the cool thing about remote coaching and online coaching, even hybrid coaching, kind of blending online and in person, is on the nutrition side of things, which is honestly what most people need more than anything. Because I think, anybody can walk down the street and join a gym and get, watch a YouTube video or download a workout program, you know?
Yeah.
So in terms of like the accessibility, it's never been easier to know how to exercise or kind of have some general idea of what to do. You go to your, Orange Theory or a boot camp or all these different options, and they're all great.
Yeah.
None of them
They all
are
have
like,
research behind them at least. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. So none of them are going to just be like, ruin your life. I think there's sides of things that are more optimal than others, but it also is dependent on your goal as well. On the nutrition side of thing, we talk about a messy landscape. And I think people just need to know, what do I do? What do I need to do? What works for me?
yeah.
And can I have some support, some accountability, somebody there to just supervise and give me a little bit of structure and help me when I fall off the cliff so I don't just keep rolling into that cycle. And then you talk about like eating disorders and just so many different things, stress related eating. And I think it's really beneficial to have somebody in your corner. And I like to say, I'm a coach that's in your pocket, right? So at any
Yeah.
moment, I'm right there. You
Yep.
can message me and say, "Hey, I'm really struggling today. Okay, what do we need to do? Let's game plan." So
That's awesome. I mean, such a wonderful value. And I mean, I think, you said you work with kind of the general population. My audience is primarily teachers and
mhm,
people that work at schools, and then parents and caregivers of people with disabilities, people that are in special education. And your journey to this particular point in your career path is similar to the journey of a caregiver or a teacher that is caregiving for their students that have disabilities. I mean, my dad always said, it's just like a 10% up to ante, right? Like we just have a little bit more stress. We have a little bit more anxiety. We have our tasks are a little bit different. There's more
sure.
problem solving and that's if you look at it it with like a Pollyanna
I,
attitude, which is my approach. I mean, there's also 10% more suck in life sometimes. I think like the certainly something that I have figured out also is that maintaining a healthy lifestyle, maintaining a healthy diet are definitely not only important, but they can be like life-saving in so
sure.
many ways, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're talking about as caregivers, as parents, as people who have, a responsibility to protect and provide. My role as a dad, as a father, like these decisions that we make on a daily basis are going to have the greatest impact. We can really focus in on, media. We can focus in on, outside influences and all of that. But what happens in the home is so important. And what our children see us doing, the people that we're responsible for, grown, small, whatever, they are watching and they see the choices that we're making. And those choices have both subtle and very, very blatantly obvious repercussions. And so I always think about, what is the long term implication of this decision choice and this pattern? If my kids see us going through fast food drive-through every single night for dinner because we just never have time, well, that's a lot of valuable family time that we're not having around the dinner table first off. So not even talking about the nutritional aspect, just talking about the time that we have, quality time spent together. So they're learning that food is a convenience. They're learning that food is something that you just fly by.
Yeah.
Versus, do I want them to understand that food is something that's special, and that time is something that's valuable, and it's life-giving, and it's communal? Or do I want them to understand that it's quick and convenience? Now, I'm not saying that going through fast food once or twice is gonna, negatively impact their life and their future. But
You
what
got
rhythms
working
am I
parents, Ed.
establishing?
You're gonna have Chick-fil-A.
When they're 23 and
Yeah.
they're living in their first apartment with a couple of roommates, do I want them just defaulting to, "Hey, I'm gonna cook this dinner," or do I want them to and let's have friends over, let's cook dinner, or do I want them defaulting to, let's order pizza? Which frame of mind am I building in terms of the reference point for them to fall back on and those defaults? So that's what I think of in the big picture is like, can we change that structure and the framework and the habits that we are establishing with the people that are under our care so that
Yeah.
they are, sort of absorbing some of those same principles because they will stick. And I'm not saying every 23-year-old is going to be, making gourmet meals, but I do think those principles will carry them as they start their own families or they have their own people underneath. If you look at the long term, and I'm a historian, if you look at the long term trajectory of the history of food, I mean, think about back in the day. I mean, if you wanted to cook something, but you had to, you had to build a fire,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
needed people to gather the wood. You needed people to make the fire. You needed people to tend the fire. You needed people to prepare. You had somebody that was making pots or, whatever it was. Cooking the food took a lot of time. And then you had, you weren't driving in your car eating your food.
Well,
Food
and
was
that's
a
after you've grown it or nurtured
right
it, killed
or
it,
hunted it.
picked
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So so many more
it- it-
layers of steps. And
and respect for
sure,
the
sure.
food.
Absolutely. And then you move into the mass production of food, right? So on the tail end of the Industrial Revolution, so food became quicker, easier, more accessible, like instant oats, right? And
Yeah.
cereals became huge. And so breakfast became faster and quicker. And, the kids eating their cereal while they watch TV in the morning, cartoons and stuff. And it just continues to, where are we going to be 20, 30 years in terms of how much more convenient, how much faster does our food need to become in
Yeah.
order for us to feel like we have enough time? And we
Yeah.
have to start to claw back and fight back and win back some of that time for our families, for good, nutritious food, for movement, for the things that actually build us up and actually, carry us through life and not just get so caught in that convenience cycle. So that's something I try to talk about a good bit, but sorry
I
for going
love
into a
that.
little bit of a
Oh,
rant.
no, I love that. I think there's so much to unpack there. I was just thinking, like, I don't know if it's a podcast episode. You could probably do a whole course or a whole book on this, but like food is because it's not just nouns, it's not just adjectives. Food is life, food is communal,
Mhm,
food is nurturing, food is power, food is fuel.
mhm,
And I like what you say around community and around setting that example for your kids. I mean, we don't really think about what we're doing in the same with food, probably unless we have had trouble with our relationship with food as we've grown up. And, those things are so very important. And it all comes back to that healthy lifestyle. So I loved that. And, I was talking to my mom the other day. So I go to Fresh Market. Do you have Fresh
mhm.
Market in Georgia?
Uh, we don't. I've been to one, so I know what you're referring to. Yeah.
Okay, so I hate that grocery store. I think it's dark and it's laid out weird and it's oddly expensive in some regard. But on Tuesdays in Greater Cincinnati, I don't know if it is other places, they call it chicken chuck, I think. Chicken and ground beef are $3.99 a pound, which is like,
Yeah.
super cheap right now. And so I go and I buy like 20 pounds of meat and because I'm feeding a swimmer and another boy, right? Like I live with a bunch of boys like
Yeah.
you. And so that's a good way to save money. And so I go, and the other day I thought, well, I'll pick up a roasting chicken for dinner. Like we just had all that cheese. So let's get back on the bandwagon here, people. We need cruciferous vegetables and we need to like
Yeah.
Ina Garten's chicken.
Yeah.
And a roaster was $20. A roasting
Oh,
chicken.
geez.
But their rotisserie chicken that's already done for you, this is what I was saying to my mom. The rotisserie chicken was $8.99. I got that, 3 crowns of broccoli, and, a bag of little potatoes, and it was $12. My swimmer's meal at Chick-fil-A alone is 15.
Mm,
So when he's in college, he can do it at Whole Foods, which is probably arguably more expensive than even Fresh Market, and get a whole thing of potatoes, 3 crowns of broccoli, and an entire chicken. And yes, it's a smaller chicken, but he could probably eat all that for less than his crappy meal at
mm,
Chick-fil-A.
mhm.
And it still is quote unquote prepared food, right? Like you got
Yeah.
to boil and
Right.
roast the
Right.
vegetables. And I thought, I need to tell him that. Like, I need to make that comparison, because when do you ever just buy a meal
Mhm.
by itself? You know? I mean, it is like, it's remarkable when you start to do that. Like, another one for
Yeah.
us is we buy, and again, this is like an easy meal. I go buy a kielbasa kind of sausage, the one that's like
Mhm.
packed in a sea, which is not super good for you, but it's quick, convenient, somewhat nurturing food. Sauerkraut and peppers and onions. And if I go buy that meal, it's like $12, which is still less than one bad for you dinner at
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Chick-fil-A or
Mhm.
Chipotle or
Mhm.
whatever. So yeah, the value and the values, like the financial value and the
Mhm.
community values, are so interesting. Um, so yeah,
And there's a healthy intersection there of
right.
what we can promote within our families, and I think that includes, just switching topics, but that includes the movements as well, right? So how you move your body. A lot of times we're so individualistic, and we think of exercise as an individual thing. We think of food as an individual thing, but it has a communal aspect as well. You know, I coach a lot of my kids' sports teams. So when it's baseball season, basketball season, soccer, I jump in and I coach, and just it's constant movement, right? I'm out there, I'm interacting with the kids,
Yeah.
sports, we're moving. It becomes a family thing, and it's not to cast judgment, but you look over on the side, and there's a lot of parents that are there they bring their chair, they sit, and they're on their phone. That's
Yeah.
an hour and a half. There's a walking track right there. You
Yeah.
know, it could be something like it's just, I'm going to take 10 minutes of this time that I'm already here in this physical location, and I'm going to move my body.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the younger sibling, and we're going to move together.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump out there on the sports team with my child and volunteer some of my time. And it's not a cost of time. And I hear a lot of times people talk about, I just don't have time for it. And it's at that point, it's not a cost of time. It's just an awareness of, here's an opportunity. Here's a window of where I can integrate some of my movement in with my family.
And
There's
you
a lot
can
of people
model
that
it.
exactly, and we're modeling it, and you know, and I say this, and again, it's not casting judgment on anybody, but there's millions of parents that are talking to their kids about how important it is for them to stay active and in sports. But when it comes time to drive to the ballpark on Saturday, they're moaning and groaning that they don't have a close parking spot,
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting, especially
right?
at
So
baseball game. You don't want to park close
psychologically,
at baseball. You got to park far
yeah,
away.
yeah, exactly. But psychologically, you're
Those
saying,
foul
hey,
balls a good job.
psychologically, you're saying you need to stay active and play sports. And this is really important for you. But
Right.
I, as the adult and as the leader of this family and as the model of what is acceptable behavior, I'm complaining because I have to walk an extra 200 yards.
Hmm.
So we're giving different
Hmm.
signals,
Yeah.
and these are windows of opportunity. Say, hey, let's park in the back and let's walk together. Let's make it a skipping game or something
Yeah.
as we walk. Like, there's ways to take that activity and make it something that's fun
Hmm.
and make it something that your kids see in you. Oh, mom, dad, to the ability that you can, right? I realize I'm talking to a very wide audience, and
Well,
many
but
people are
it,
going to have limitations, mobility limitations, all of that kind of stuff. I totally, relate
sure.
to that. I work with a lot of people that have limitations. But at the same time, what is the mindset that we're bringing to the table around movement and integrating that in with our families?
And it needs to be a goal, right? Like, I had Jack at all of those baseball games. Griffin played travel baseball, and, I would not be able to go to Indianapolis or to,
Sure, sure.
where's Cal Ripken? Where did they go?
Today.
Is that,
Um,
oh, they're all over, but Myrtle Beach. I couldn't go to those places because, that was too much for Jack. But like, I would talk to Jack's therapist about goals. Like, we tried, sit on a blanket. And if Griffin's pitching, you're on the blanket. And then when they're batting, we can go to the playground
mhm,
because I want to watch and we value watching our brother. Griffin swims. Jack has a hard time in noisy natatorium.
sure, sure.
So we have goals. How are we going to get in there? We go in during practice, so it's not so loud. Now we've gotten to the point that Jack can not only swim in practice in that
Mhm.
natatorium, but he can swim far and he can swim without somebody else in the
Oh, that's
water.
amazing. Yeah.
But it's because that's a value. I
Mhm.
prioritized that value. You can't prioritize all of them, but that is a value that I personally prioritized and that I was not going to give up on. We've
Absolutely.
got social stories for playing 9 holes of golf because my husband's a golfer and he wants to be able to play 18 holes of golf with his 2 boys and have a beer and a rocking chair at
Mhm.
Pinehurst. And I'm like, well, that doesn't just happen. If you've got a kid with a behavior thing, it doesn't just happen. So
Sure.
we've got to make goals. We've got to give him supports. We've got to get him that
Mhm.
endurance. That's fine. That's a 5 mile walk. And, or like behavior on the golf cart, you got to we'll get there
Yeah.
when we're
Yeah.
25, but we got to start when we're 8, and he's 13 and now it's real hard.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And I think that's so like it's a goal focus. It's that kind of purpose driven idea.
Yeah.
With that goal in mind, what's the cascading decision tree that has to
Mhm.
be made, both in terms of I like to think of it, goals are made up of skills, right?
Yeah.
Those skills are made up of different practices, and those practices are made up of daily actions. So what is at the bare minimum, what are the daily things we need to be doing? What are the daily rhythms we need in our families? What are those non-negotiables that will actually help us build and up to that goal?
To get
And
there.
I think if
Yeah.
we think of our health as that, not as I have to, oh, I got to work out, or I have to exercise, or I have to go run. Instead, is this building me closer to an ultimate goal that I have for not only me, but also for my family? And we can start to see the bigger picture, and it starts to make a lot more sense as to what the purpose is. And I think that's, as a coach, that's my ultimate job, is to say, one, how do we make this sustainable for you? And two, how do we help you see the overall value of this whole lifestyle so that you can start to say, oh, that was way on the periphery. That whole idea of, strength training, that was never an idea for me. But man, I really need to be able to go on this family hike I need to be able to
Yeah.
go skiing with my family or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh, strength is going to help.
Yeah.
And so now
But
it was on the periphery, but
the
now
more
it
we
becomes
age.
something. Yeah. But now it becomes something that we focus on. And so
Yeah.
I think for me, that's ultimately that's my job, is to create a roadmap that help you see how you're going to get there.
So I bet that ties into the book that you mentioned before we
Yeah.
signed off. So I want to talk to you about that. But I have two like quick little things for my audience because I know my audience. So the
Sure.
one is don't hesitate to add these fitness, like lifetime kind of fitness goals that benefit your entire family and help serve your family values to physical therapy. Like my kid's 13. We've kind of gotten to the point that like we don't have to work on our pincer grasp at OT anymore and that sort of thing. But, like, I literally had goals for dribbling. I've had goals for hitting a tennis ball, riding a bike, and most of our goals now are endurance. So we're gonna start physical therapy again in March, and I have a little Post-it note where I am, like, writing I want, like, somebody to help me help him in a gym so that I can go to the gym now and I can take Jack with me, because that's, like, a community thing that we can do together, and it keeps him functionally involved. So that's number 1. Number 2 is also we have to model rest because, there's people that need the motivation, but there's also people that like are go, 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 go. And our kids, yes, at our baseball games, like, okay, I can sit here and I can like order the groceries. And then I can run home and I can pick up the groceries and stick them in the fridge and I can be back at the game. And then I'm going to take you here and I'm going to take you there.
Hmm.
And, like, I see so many people sitting in car line on their phones, and I think, "Why are you not reading? You are signing a log that says that your kids are reading 10 or 15 minutes a day. Why are you not showing them that that's a good escape, and that you can read for self-help, and you can read for escape, and you can read for creativity, and you can read for 1,000 other reasons?" So, like, I think we need to model functional rest as opposed to scrolling
Yes.
through our
Yes.
phones too.
Yes.
Because, like, I'm a real type A person, and I know my kids see me just getting shit done all the time, and they're probably like, "That woman like, relax a rubber band a little."
Yeah.
But I don't wanna just stand leaning on my kitchen counter and scroll, which, we're all guilty of doing too. So,
Sure.
um, anyway, we don't
Yeah.
have to talk
And
about that. I just
no,
wanted to throw
no.
it in.
And also for your audience as well. Like, I deal with this a lot. I work with a lot of a lot of parents, a lot of moms, a lot of educators. And there's that kind of built-in sense of if I take some time for me to build my health and myself up, that's, I should feel guilty for that,
Mm.
you know, kind of the classic, shame or guilt around the fact that I need some time to rest or I need some time to move my body or protect my health. These are things that, yes, we can integrate into our family, but also there's times where you need that for yourself and you need
Yeah.
to prioritize your own self-care in a very intentional way. And I think self-care is really overused as a term
Yeah.
to be like something that's like you deserve it and it becomes a selfish thing. No,
Yeah.
self-care is a selfless thing. And so I talk about selfless self-care,
Mm.
right? That you are taking care of yourself, not from a place of like pride or a place of I deserve this, but simply from a place of I'm worth it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Not an indulgence. It is a need.
it is a need. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see what's Michigan's quarterback's name? JJ something. Ma-
I don't follow too much football these
It's
days.
he's got like a double initial. I want to say like JJ McCarron, but that's AJ
Okay. Okay.
McCarron. He
I
lives.
see.
I think he played for the Bengals. I don't know what his name is, but he meditated before the game. Do you know
Okay.
they just won in overtime last
Yeah.
weekend?
Yeah. Yeah.
He took off his shoes and he sat against the goalpost and he was doing like the alternate nose breathing that I do in yoga. And he appeared to be meditating. He was
Hmm.
having a moment of peace at the very least with his feet grounded in that grass or turf. And they're almost all grass, right? I don't know.
Uh,
I
yes,
used
I think it's
I used
mostly
to know a
grass.
lot. I used to know a lot about this. Now I'm the boy mom. But I was so happy because I was like, yes, as a parent of two kids with anxiety and a person with anxiety, I thought I never saw Summer Sanders or Michael Jordan meditate. And there they are out there, like and those two people probably do it now, you know? And I thought, gosh, that's great modeling. And I'm sure he got a benefit from that. And, through the whole game, they kept talking about what like a great teammate he is. And I
Mhm.
thought, that's good. That's good. So, okay.
Yeah.
Major hard shift here because this is what happens to me. But tell us the book that you are that
Yeah.
you recommend.
I'm super excited about it. It's something since I was a kid, I thought I'm going to write a book one day. I never thought it would be about health and wellness and sustainable, in particular, sustainable health. So it's called Hacking Sustainable Health. And so there's 10 hacks within this book. So they're very, very easy to digest and super practical. So each hack, so if we're talking about eat like you mean it, right? So that's the chapter of one of my books. Chapter one of my title of one of my chapters in my book about nutrition. Eat like you mean it. And I'm talking about that whole idea of convenience versus intentionality. And so what does that look like? How do we actually start to implement that? So just kind of laying out the problem, the solution, and then saying, here's what you can do tomorrow. As soon as tomorrow, here's some very practical steps that you can take. Then how are you going to continue to build off of that and gaining momentum? And then what's an example from one of my clients or from my own life that have implemented this and they've seen the transformation? And so each chapter is just really broken down into that same format. And I talk about everything. I talk about stress management. I talk about how to set goals for yourself that are realistic and not. I talk about battling kind of this all or nothing mentality that we tend to grapple with, where it either has to be all consuming or we just totally ditch it.
Yeah.
Anybody who's ever started a diet knows exactly what I'm talking about, right?
And then you
So a
feel
lot
a
of
thousand times worse.
yeah, so a lot of the mental and the mindset stuff that I see over and over again, I have to coach my clients through. I was like, this has got to be a chapter in the book because it's so important that we dive into that. So it's not just, oh, here's some exercises you should do, or here's what you should eat or not eat. It's a lot deeper than that. We talk about understanding the importance of sleep. I have an entire chapter on sleep and just how important it is and ways that you can protect and safeguard your sleep. And so, yeah, I'm very excited about it. It's going to be coming out towards the later spring. So we're projecting towards April. And I'm just really excited about the book and about just having even expanded and greater reach. So I appreciate you bringing it
Okay.
up.
Yeah, and yeah, you make sure that I see that when it comes out, and we will share
Definitely,
that
definitely.
information, and because that sustainability piece is so, so important. I think there's a lot of people that know what they should be doing, but how to do it sustainably and how to reach the balance so that it is just simply a habit and a lifestyle is
Exactly. It's so
so
interesting how fitness, like, we can be so balanced about everything in life. Like, yeah, it looked at 4 years to get this degree so that I can intern for a year so I can maybe work my way up towards my dream job.
yeah.
So like that's a 7 year commitment you're making. But when it comes to a health goal, I need it next week.
Yeah,
I need it next month. I need it now.
yeah,
And it's like, well, what if we just gave ourselves a longer time horizon? Could you
yeah,
do it then? Could we be a little bit more realistic with the management and expectations? And as soon as we kind of take that pressure off, man, we can have a whole lot more fun when it comes to taking care of our health than this whole like pressurized, instant, need it now, quick results kind of mentality.
and okay, so I've thought about this a lot. Isn't it because 'cause I'm at the age where, like, my skin is starting to lose a elastic, and so I'm like, isn't it better to lose weight more slowly and to make even, like, changes with your mental health and your, like, hormonal gives your organs and your skin a chance to catch up? Like, I don't wanna lose a ton of weight and it's too saggy, Like, think about what that's doing to the neural pathways in your brain and, like, your joints and all that stuff. Like, I mean, that just seems like common sense. You see
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
have lost weight too quickly or whatever, and you're like, "That actually doesn't even look that healthy."
No, no, no. It's absolutely not. And what just to pinpoint that and just highlight that, if you're under uh, you know, intaking of nutrients is prolonged. So let's say just calcium, for example, right? So let's say you're just calcium deficient. But if you're malnourished or undernourished, you're definitely going to be calcium deficient. Guess what? Your body has to have that calcium. It is vital. It's an essential micronutrient. So guess where it pulls it from? Straight from your bones, right?
Yeah,
So your bones are getting weaker in order for you to get skinnier. That is not a trade-off that I want. So how can you get that weight loss if that's a focus for you? How can you get that in a more sustainable way where your bones stay freaking strong,
yeah,
right? To me, I would rather have strong bones when I'm 80 than to weigh a specific number on the scale when I'm 40.
right. And it's really
So
like
I think that's a trade-off.
once you figure out how to make your smoothies with a bunch of spinach, isn't spinach a source of calcium?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Once you figure out how to do it, then,
It's
like,
a
smoothie's
skill
just part of your day.
it's a skill that stays with you for life. So how
Yeah,
can we build up those skills and that mental like accumulation of skills and habits that ultimately, coalesce into a healthier you. The
right.
more we can do that and the more we can integrate those things in, the better off we're going to be. And
Yeah,
those are just daily simple things that you're building into the things you're already doing. I mean,
a
it
couple at a
takes
time.
5 minutes to make a smoothie.
Yeah,
But
especially if you do them on Sunday nights. Takes less
yep,
time.
yep.
Yeah, and then it's communal, right? Like, you've got a little assembly line going at your kitchen counter, and then yeah, and you kind of even forget why you're having the spinach, but, you feel better
Yeah.
with this
So
part of you.
definitely, I mean, if you think about your body as the holistic, you know, uh, biological vessel that is designed to keep you alive, right? Keep your brain working and to allow you to do the things that you need to do. Your body is very, very, very slow to adapt, which is a very good thing. A lot of times we get frustrated that results are slow. We're looking for, muscle gain or weight loss or whatever. That is a good thing. Nobody's
Yeah,
complaining about your body being slow to adapt when you're not taking care of yourself. And your
right.
body just keeps working, keeps doing its thing because it's like, hey, we're playing the long game. Nobody whines about it then. But as
Yeah,
soon as you get some goal in your head that I need to lose, 10 pounds, now you want it as fast as possible. And your body's like, hey, we're still in this for the long game. So
yeah,
just because you want quick results doesn't mean your body is willing and able to do that. And that's a good thing, right?
And they slow down over time. Like I've got autoimmunity. So if I try to do something, if I get like, usually for me, it's because I've gotten in some bad pattern or like after the holidays or something. And then I'm like, all right, we're cleaning this up. I'll get a migraine, like major terrible migraine, or my sleep will be impacted. And I'm like, that went too much too fast.
Mhm.
Chill out. Like yesterday, I actually intentionally ate some leftover dip for lunch because I was like, my body probably needs that cream cheese because I just like, I don't want to get a migraine again. I need to ease it back
And
in.
those,
And
yeah.
so, yeah, I mean,
And
yeah.
those signals are so important. Like you talk about like meditation, you talk about these different things. A lot of that is about listening to the signals that your body is already sending you.
Mhm.
And those kinds of things like a migraine, that's your body sending you a message that
Yeah.
something has been too much too quickly, or something has been cut out, or something has been added. There's there's things and ways you can listen to your body it's a signpost. It's saying, hey, pay attention. It doesn't mean, oh, I need a pill to fix this. It means I need to reflect on some of the choices and decisions or lack of decisions that I've been making and make some adjustments because my body doesn't normally do this. And now it's doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's really, really great. So, as is often the case, I tell my podcast guests, we're aiming for about 20 minutes and then we start talking. So, this is like, Bryan, this is why I'm so excited to have you as a part of the conference, because I believe that we can be excellent advocates and we can be excellent teachers and we can give it our all. But unless we are also caring for ourselves, it's not going to be sustainable. And I love that you are here to support the teachers that are giving it their all and the parents that are giving it their all so that their all can be more effective and more efficient. So why don't you tell everybody what you're presenting about at the conference? Give us a little tease for your
Yeah,
presentation.
yeah, yeah. So you brought it up earlier, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna save it."
I know.
Yes.
I caught myself.
So I'm gonna be talking about how to tame your stress, right? So tame your stress. A lot of times we just think I'm just really stressed and I need to relax, but we all know how to get stressed. But do we actually know how to turn on our relaxation system, right? Your body works a lot of times in pairs, right? You got your bicep that brings your arm in and the tricep that takes it out. Well, guess what? Stress works the same way. You have your sympathetic nervous system, which produces cortisol and adrenaline, but you also have your parasympathetic nervous system. And you've heard of fight or flight, right? But there's also rest and digest. But how many of us actually know and have trained ourselves to activate our parasympathetic nervous system? When you're doing yoga, when you're doing meditation, when you're doing some of these, what we call PNS activities, parasympathetic nervous system activities, you're training your brain to activate your rest and digest. And so what I want to talk about and what I'm going to be diving into is, what do we need to know about cortisol? What do we need to know about normal cortisol distribution? And how do we make sure that we don't end up dealing with some kind of major issue with our adrenal system? You can have adrenal fatigue, adrenal, yeah. And that's going to come a lot of times. The people who are giving the most
Yeah.
end up with these kind of chronic issues
Yeah.
with their adrenal systems. And when that happens, sure enough, your body is going to notice and you're going to notice because the signals are going to be very apparent. So how do we prevent that on the front end? And what are some very simple, practical things that we can be doing on a daily basis to make sure that we don't get to that point and that we actually do know how to relax in a way that's not doom scrolling on our phone, which is in fact not a relaxation method.
It's not.
It's not. It's a stimulant, right? Your phone
Yeah.
is a stimulant. And so we need to figure out some ways that are not stimulating means of relaxation and actual real rest.
Mm-hmm. I could be the cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to listen to it. I
Yeah.
love the little blurb that you even gave us. I was like, yes, that's what we need. I can't wait. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. And everybody can check out Bryan's presentation at the 4th annual virtual free special education advocacy conference, which is occurring on January 19th and 20th. If you missed it when it happened, of course, you can buy those on demand tickets. And Brian, thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited about it.